Okay, tell me if this sounds like you. You start something new, right? And you just go completely, 100% all in. I mean, you buy all the gear, you stay up watching hours of tutorials, and you learn incredibly fast. You pick up the basics in no time. And for this brief shining moment, it feels like, this is it, this is finally your new thing. And then out of nowhere, you're bored. You just drop it completely and move on to something entirely new. And then, right on cue, that heavy, oh-so-familiar voice hits you. Why can't I just stick to one thing? You look back at your track record and, well, the guilt creeps in. You start accusing yourself of being a quitter, right? Of lacking focus, of being totally undisciplined. You feel this sense of shame because society constantly tells us that success means picking one single path and staying on it forever. But what if I told you that this behavior isn't actually a weakness at all? I mean, just look at this totally chaotic list of abandoned hobbies. Maybe for you, it's learning basic guitar, then suddenly jumping to coding logic, getting obsessed with psychology for a week, then video editing, knitting, graphic design. It looks like absolute chaos to an outsider. But honestly, this isn't a list of failures. It's a visual representation of a highly active, incredibly capable brain. Your behavior isn't a sign of inconsistency. It's actually a completely different kind of intelligence. Section 1. You're not inconsistent, you're a multipotentiality. So, let's start with our first major shift in perspective. You are not inconsistent. Best-selling author Barbara Sher famously coined the term scanner for this. While others might call you a multipotentialite or a polymath, basically it describes someone with an intense but short-lived fascination with wildly different subjects. Your brain is quite literally not designed to go deep into one single path forever. While most people are wired to dig a single hole a mile deep, you're wired to explore the entire landscape. You move curiously across many domains, learning rapidly, and, most importantly, connecting ideas. Section 2. The biology of the quitter. So why exactly do you crash so hard after that initial obsession? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the core difference between you and the rest of the world. Most of society operates on an importance-based nervous system. Their attention and motivation are driven by external outcomes. Things like a paycheck, a degree, long-term significance, or just a boss telling them to do it. But you likely operate on an interest-based nervous system. Your attention is driven almost entirely by immediate stimulation through novelty, challenge, and pure intrinsic fascination. If traditional advice like just push through the boredom completely fails for you, this is exactly why. Your brain literally cannot be motivated by pure importance. It requires interest. And the rocket fuel for that interest-based nervous system? It's dopamine. Good old C8H11O2. Dopamine is the chemical that drives motivation, reward, and excitement in your brain. When you start a brand new hobby or a new project, your brain gets this massive, flooding dopamine boost. Your brain absolutely loves newness, it loves a challenge, and it thrives on discovery. Let's walk through how this plays out in real time because it's so predictable. Step 1. You find a new interest and get a massive dopamine spike. Step 2, you enter hyperfocus, riding that beginner's high where you're learning incredibly fast. Step 3, the basics finally click. You crack the code. You get how the thing works. And then, step 4, the dopamine crash, sometimes called the hyperfixation hangover. Once the novelty drops and the challenge becomes repetitive, the dopamine just shuts off. Your brain simply says, mission complete, I figured this out, next. See, you don't quit because you're lazy. You move on because your brain's biological reward system has been fully satisfied. Section 3. The evolution of the explorer. Now, you might be wondering, if this trait makes us bounce around so much, why does it even exist in the first place? Well, let's take a macro view for a second. Thousands of years ago, human tribes survived precisely because of people wired exactly like you. Ancient survival relied heavily on generalist explorers, the ones who got restless, who sought out new food sources, who discovered new paths, and who were totally willing to take risks. You carry that exact same ancient explorer wiring today. The friction you feel isn't because you're broken. The friction exists because modern society unfairly rewards extreme specialists, people who sit at the exact same desk and climb a single corporate ladder for 20 years. You feel guilty because you are playing a different game than the modern world demands, but your wiring is actually a profound survival advantage. Section 4. Redefining finished. This is where we need a massive cognitive reframe. Just follow this learning curve. At hour 1, you get that massive dopamine rush we talked about. By hour 20, you experience what we call the click moment. The underlying syntax of the skill suddenly makes sense to you. You get how it works. Now, society tells you that you aren't truly finished until you hit hour 10,000, that long, flat plateau of repetitive, grinding mastery. But for a scanner, your brain is chasing the click of understanding, not the endless repetition of mastery. For you, the reward is literally just, oh, I get it now, not let me do this 10,000 times. And honestly, this brings us to one of my absolute favorite quotes from Barbara Sher. Finishing simply means that you got what you came for. I mean, think about a honeybee. You would never yell at a honeybee for leaving a flower once it has collected the nectar, right? It got what it came for. Why on earth would it stay? So why are you yelling at yourself for moving on from a project once your curiosity has extracted the knowledge it was seeking? Your departure isn't a failure to finish, it is a successful completion of your true goal. Section 5. The Generalist Superpower. Now let's talk about why this is actually your greatest hidden advantage. To the outside world, sure, your dabbling looks totally random, but you are actually building an incredibly rare toolkit. If you combine a baseline knowledge of video editing, psychology, and graphic design, you don't just have 3 random hobbies. You have the exact toolkit of a masterful content creator. Sales, coding logic, and philosophy? Boom, that's an innovative tech founder. Photography, web design, and copywriting? That builds a highly successful digital nomad consultant. You are building what we call umbrella careers. Single-track specialists simply cannot replicate the unique intersections that your brain naturally creates. So why do generalists absolutely thrive today? Because innovation doesn't come from just knowing one single thing deeply. It comes from connecting completely different fields. You have rapid skill acquisition. You offer deep, out-of-the-box problem solving because you borrow mental models from completely different industries. You have unmatched adaptability. While the specialists are busy climbing one single ladder, you understand the architecture of the entire building. That is so rare, and in a rapidly changing world, it is incredibly valuable. Section 6. Reframe your identity. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take all of this data and use it to completely reframe your identity. You are not unfocused. You are completing cycles of curiosity. Just let that sink in for a second. It is time to stop fighting your biological design. Drop the shame of the unfinished project graveyard. You aren't leaving behind failures. You are leaving behind stepping stones that have built the incredibly adaptable, highly creative mind you have today. I want to leave you with this one final thought. What if you were never actually meant to fit into just one box? What if you were meant to do many things and connect them in a way that literally no one else on Earth can? If you resonated with this explainer, if you finally feel seen as the multipotentialite you actually are, hit that subscribe button. Because here, we don't just accept curiosity, we consider it an absolute superpower. Keep exploring, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.